Dear brothers, last weekend, my wife and I were getting ready for a very special evening. We had a gala to go to for Canines for Warriors. So for those of you who don't know what Canines for Warriors is, it is an organization that brings service dogs to veterans struggling with a host of difficulties and really gives them a new leash on life. Pun obviously intended. It's a very emotional and beautiful evening where they raise a metric ton of money to change the lives of veterans all over the world. For those of you who've not heard of Canines for Warriors, it is the philanthropic group that my wife and I are most involved in, and I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can check them out. But if you are looking for a good cause, I don't think you'll find a better one. So, as per the usual, we were running on time, but bordering on being late if we didn't keep up our pace. My wife was doing her makeup, and as I was pulling my black tie taut, I heard a very loud bang and crack come from across the other side of our apartment. So, had to go investigate. Followed my dogs to find out the crime, barefoot, pants on, white shirt on, and my newly finished black tie, and came across the scene of this very loud bang. The wall had a 2-foot spray of blue running down it. The shoe rack with my running shoes, sandals, my wife's running shoes, and several other pairs had speckles of blue all over them. Small pieces of blue plastic were scattered across the floor, several inside of my workout shoes. And as I turned the corner, there in front of me was the main victim. A very full container of laundry detergent had jumped from the top rope of our dryer and crashed about 6 feet to the floor. A 3-foot pool of blue ooze was continuing to spread all over the ground. Any of you that have had the distinct honor of cleaning up such a mess know how time-consuming, infuriating, and cumbersome it can be to clean up laundry detergent. It just doesn't wipe off. We were already on the verge of being late, and I knew that this was not going to help our cause. A flush of anger, we'll call it, came to my face. And I'm going to admit something to all of you. I am a professional at getting angry at the dumbest, smallest things. Such as the time a few weeks ago where I went to open the rear door of my SUV, and the entire bags of groceries I just purchased lurched out like they were being pushed from behind and forcing themselves free of the back seat. 2 cartons of eggs smashed the ground. Avocados were rolling, the salad was squashed. I was infuriated, expletives flying from my mouth. I grabbed the closest semi-broken egg and flung it through our garage. As if the egg knew I was putting it in its place for so clearly pushing the bags out of the car, which I so carelessly placed too close to the door. As the seconds passed and I assessed this amount of damage in the front of our apartment that this detergent had done, I was about to get pretty pissed. And I kind of had a little voice pipe up in my head. Is laundry detergent really worth my peace? Does it really matter that much? I can't do anything about it at this point. So does something so minuscule need to ruin my evening? I stayed quiet for a second and then had truly an overwhelming amount of calm come over me. I turned around, walked to the kitchen, whistled the dogs with me, grabbed a very large roll of paper towels, rolled my pant legs up, tucked my tie in, and went to work. 10 minutes later, it was done. Plastic pieces all picked up. Every ounce of blue goo that I could find was collected from the floor, courtesy of, again, essentially an entire roll of paper towels. Shoes were cleaned off, walls sprayed down and cleaned up. It was over. It was like it never happened. We were still doing good on time. Nothing had really changed. My wife emerged from the bedroom, mostly ready to go. I threw on my socks and shoes, donned my suit coat, and we walked out the door to go enjoy an absolutely fabulous evening at the Canines for Warriors Gala. You see, fellas, All of us struggle with allowing the circumstances of the world to bother us, especially the little circumstances. Be it sitting in traffic, spilling your coffee all over yourself, cracking your watch against the wall, knowing full well it might be cracked, and the like. We ask ourselves, or we should ask ourselves, are these circumstances really worth losing my peace over? One of the many opinions I have changed in my life is that happiness should not be our primary pursuit. This does deserve its own full podcast, which I will do at a later time. But one of the main tenets of my life is that I am always in pursuit of peace. When you look at ancient texts, especially Stoics and what have you, you see the word equanimity, which basically means mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations. And understanding that life can go awry, objects break, kids cry, work can suck, yet we can maintain a level of calm and keep situations in their proper light. Anger, specifically when uncontrolled, is a disease. We are allowing the situations of the world to dictate our moods, to foul our moods. Anger is just an emotion. It comes and goes. But when we lose control of it, we have allowed chaos to ensue. Peace cannot be found in that level of chaos. Understand that peace does not mean a lack of difficulty. It is not this state of ease by which everyone thinks they will ultimately find happiness. The easier my life, the more happy I am likely to be. I think people conflate comfortability with peace, and that is simply not the case. True peace can only be found through handling the trials and tribulations of life, be them big or small. We get better at it as we do it. It's like a muscle that has to be worked to get stronger. The more we practice, the better our control of our emotions becomes, and the more peaceful we can become, the more peace we can find. That kind of peace allows you to handle the real difficulties of life with poise and with grace, to be steadfast in the storm, almost like you enjoy the storm. You realize that by handling the crashing waves and lightning and the terror and feeling like you might go at any second, you're able to create this very beautiful contrast when the sun comes up and the seas are calm. You must realize that you are the captain of this ship. When you allow anger to take control of the wheel, you are destined for destruction. When the opportunity comes where anger is rising, just like it did for me as I'm looking at this giant mess of detergent, take a breath and ask yourself, is this really worth my peace? Then you just need to make the right decision, boys. As I was doing this episode today, the thing that I reflected on the most was I had this thing happen with the detergent. And then we go to this gala where men and women who have been fighting outlandish amounts of difficulty, being on multiple medications, suffering, thinking about suicide every day for years, losing their relationships, losing their kids, being rejected by society. I think to myself, these are the kind of people that their struggles are very real. This isn't detergent spilling in my apartment. I get it. Those things can all be frustrating and we all suffer with things, but keeping it in context matters. Some of these people that I met that night are some of the most peaceful people I've ever known. They are giving back. They are still struggling immensely, but they've got their battle buddy. They've got their dog with them now, and they can handle the world, no matter what it throws at them. That is peace, guys. And I want all of you to think about that right now. When things pop up, when you start noticing like, oh, I'm about to break something, which again, I am the king of, I have to constantly remind myself, is this really worth losing my peace over and not having control of my actions in life at this point? Don't let that be you. God bless, be strong. Let's get after it, fellas.